Hello, my name's Tony. Welcome to Edinburgh. Today we are going to talk about the history of George Street. This is George Street, right behind me here. We haven't done history for a while. How are you? Hope you're all happy, healthy and well. Yeah, we haven't done history for a while. And we haven't done anything for a while, really. And George Street, it's got a nice little history about the making of it. It's got some things that have happened on it. Not a lot, really. You know, when we're talking about big historical events, battles and things like that, it's not really that kind of place. But it's got a nice history of the building of it and the concept of it when it came to the building of the new town. So let's talk about that. So from where we are right now, it's not, you know, it doesn't look the nicest street. It's got all the parking spaces in the middle, a lot of buses and things about the place. There's St Andrew's Square right behind me there. But this should all be changing, actually. There's plans to make all of this pedestrianised. If I can find a picture of the concept of it, I'll put it in. But yeah, there's plans to get all of this pedestrianised and make it far more accessible, and it'll change the street completely if they decide to actually do it. It'll change the area completely. But when I was growing up, George Street to me wasn't the main street of the centre of Edinburgh. It was very much Princes Street when I was young. That's where my mum would take me. That's where the shops were. You know, it was a big thing to come in town and go to the shops in Edinburgh. Not so much now, because, you know, there's shopping malls and complexes and everything everywhere. But when I was young, there really wasn't that sort of thing. So coming into the centre of Edinburgh and go to Princes Street was a big thing. It was exciting. You get on the bus, you'd come into town. My mum would take us to have lunch at Jenner's, you know, in the cafe that they used to have at the top. These sort of things that don't exist anymore. However, when it was all designed for the original plan of the new town, Princes Street was a residential street for posh people looking over at the castle and things, with Princes Street Gardens as a private garden, not public space as it is now. But George Street was supposed to be the main street, not Princes Street. George Street was supposed to be the main street. And they thought about that with the fact of where it is. It's placed at the highest point of what the new town is built on. The new town's built on a kind of a small hill, and George Street is at the highest point of that, right in the centre. In fact, the street is named after this man right here, King George IV. However, the street was not originally named George Street. Actually, as we look at the statue of George IV here, you can see what I mean about it being raised. If I look down there, that's towards Princes Street. You can see it's uphill, and then we turn round and it goes immediately straight back down again, down towards York Place, and Queen Street. So you can see it was supposed to be the most raised, most central, most prominent street in town. And like I was saying, it wasn't originally called George Street. On the original plans of the new town, it was only called Principal Street, meaning the main street. So this was supposed to be, I mean, I suppose the main high street of the new town. But the whole concept was to bring people with money, to bring the money and to bring the powerful people back to Edinburgh. Because the old town up there wasn't nice. It really wasn't nice. It was overcrowded. There was sewage everywhere. It was not a nice place. Now it's, you know, look at all the history. Let's go. Look at all these beautiful buildings, and I'm guilty of that. I love it. But back then, not nice at all. So that was why the new town was built. And this street very much was about, well, let's get the money back into Edinburgh. However, it wasn't popular. Like, people were not happy with the main design of it. For some of the planning of the street, they didn't like the fact that it was so wide. Nowadays, thank goodness it's so wide. But at the time, they were like, why do we need a street this wide? And they didn't like the idea of the big buildings outside. They thought it looked more like a barracks than a big grand street. They thought it was boring because, you know, buildings like this and this and this were all boring. Although I suppose they weren't all like that. They were meaning more like that for that sort of concept of barracks and boring sort of look. However, after a short period of it being, you know, mostly residential and bringing these people in, the street did start to change. Banks started to set up here, hence the Dome over there, which was a bank at one point, and then there's these beautiful hotels, and then the big fancy posh boutiques started to open up. Now, I'm not talking about these sort of bits. where these fronts have been added on and extended onto what was a residential building and these shops created underneath. No, I'm talking about more like over here. More like these sort of grander shop fronts, making them beautiful big boutiques that go really quite far into the building, quite deep, making them really nice big shops. You can see a mixture of the two different things here as well. And over here you've got a style of what Prince Street used to be like as well, this sort of lower entrance for the staff and then the higher entrance for the people that lived there. You see more of that on Queen Street and things rather than you do here on Prince Street now, but there would have been far more of that on here originally. I did say that it's not really got any history like the types of battles or anything like that. However, one of the biggest moments in its history of its when it's new comes with the building right behind me, the Assembly Rooms. In 1822, the Assembly Rooms was the home of the Grand Ball welcoming King George IV, and you know, showing the splendour of the new town. So there was a massive ball in his honour that took place right inside there, and the street became the backdrop for that incredible, momentous event. Not something we really do nowadays, you know, we don't hold big balls for the king. But all that being said, all that history there, George Street was supposed to be the crown jewel of the new town. That was supposed to be the main thoroughfare. This was supposed to be the street, the landmark for anyone moving into the new town. Joining St Andrew's Square to Charlotte Square at the other end, it is supposed to be that main sort of street. And for the most part, it's kind of always remained that. It's definitely always been the place where you get the higher end shops, the higher end boutiques. Not so many banks and things on here now, but still there is some. And there was used to be a lot of head office banks on this sort of street as well. Not so much now again, but still it has got your higher end shops and it's still got the Assembly Rooms. So there you have it, a very, very brief sort of look at the history of George Street. I think it's definitely worth coming to if you're here in town and you want to do some shopping, if you want to look at some things that are maybe not, you know, your Marks and Spencers and your Primarks and things, and you want to find something else, then it's worth coming to. And there are some beautiful places to eat on here as well, so that's always worth a visit. There you have it. Hope you've enjoyed that little brief history of George Street there. If you've enjoyed that, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Please remember to go over and check out my other channel, Tony Gives It a Go, where I'm putting all these shorts up about me trying to rebuild a house. But until next time, bye humans.